So it's a silent revenue killer. And yes, we need to index keywords, but we need also to bridge that gap by understanding intent. So if we are trying to narrow this patient gap, the revenue start to increase.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Coffee Break podcast. E-commerce has never been more competitive. Traffic is expensive, attention is short, and most stores are leaking revenue in places they don't even look. The biggest leak in your store? Probably site search. For most brands, search is treated like a basic feature, something that just works. But when it fails, shoppers bounce, carts stay empty, and your marketing budget goes to waste. Today, we'll unpack why most site searches fail, what modern shoppers actually look for, and how brands can unlock revenue that's already on your site. To break this down, I'm joined by Paulius Nagys. He is the co-founder of LupaSearch, an AI-first search and product discoverability platform that's built to drive e-commerce conversions. He spent nearly 2 decades bootstrapping tech ventures and going head-to-head with global search giants, improving one thing, real return on investment on real store data. Paulius, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Yeah, let's jump into it. Why are shoppers today so quick to bounce after just 1 or 2 bad searches?
We analyzed a lot of data recent years, and we realized that we need to define this behavior, and we are calling it patient gap. The problem which we are trying to solve right now, according to Forrester, they say 80% of online shoppers abandon search when they can't find products. We found that customer gives only 2 to 5 chances before they bounce to competitor, and we are calling it patient gap. So it's a silent revenue killer. And yes, we need to index keywords, but we need also to bridge that gap by understanding intent. So after that, if we are trying to narrow this patient gap, the revenue start to increase.
Why does the classic keyword-based search tool fall apart when it comes to today's search experience and what people are actually looking for?
I would say that it stays. It's like a commodity. Keyword search, it's a commodity, but our expectations are increasing. And I would say maybe it's a good example. Google and the OpenAI companies, they are creating some kind of habits. So Google introduced search, 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, and all the world created some kind of habit, how we browse and how we look for information, how we find information. And 2022, it was a breaking point when people started to realize that they can create longer queries. They can create question and receive answer. And it builds some kind of habit for everyone. And now we expect that all e-commerce search would behave the same, because like Google started to create some kind of habits, and then it was like an extension to e-commerce website search. Now OpenAI is creating new habits for longer queries, and we see that those longer queries are increasing. And it creates frustration for all the visitors if they can't find what they're looking for. They just, coming and starting to discover what is around them. And during this discovery process, things are starting to be very complicated.
Mm-hmm. No, I can totally understand that. You mentioned that the search behavior has changed, and I think everyone can relate to that. Now, obviously, somebody who comes to your store, to your site and searches is a very valuable customer because they already have in mind, they probably already come with a buyer's intent because they are searching and not just browsing. So I think they are just at next level and closer to the credit card than somebody who's just browsing. When we talk about search abandonment, and you mentioned a number before, how big is the issue for a typical, let's say, Shopify store?
I would give another stats, the Beamer Institute. Beamer Institute is a very well-known institute. They released a scary stat. 70% of e-commerce search tools fail on a simple queries. Let me give you a real-life example. Imagine the customer walks into a store looking for a couch, but your database only has sofas. And in physical world, a salesperson would say, right this way. In digital world, search bar says no result, and customer leaves instantly. So before AI, big companies like Amazon had a huge teams, literally floors of people just manually writing synonyms, synonym list for every language. Couch equal sofa, trousers equal pants. It was expensive and slow. And now, new way is that, we can connect large language models. We extract these synonyms automatically, and we don't just match words, we match meaning. And it closes that patient gap.
Now, AI is changing a lot there. And with your tool, LupaSearch, you're in the forefront when it comes to store search. Tell me about the approach that LupaSearch has and what kind of benefits it has for a store visitor.
We are trying to not to compare features to features. There are so much of software, this MarTech vertical with tens of thousands of tools. It started to be a bit of insane because merchants, they are very frustrated. They need to pick the right tool for their needs, for their business needs. And usually you need to compare hundreds of features. And it started to be very time expensive. It's a high frustration. And we felt that signal that merchants are frustrated to pick the right tools. And we approached customers that let's not to compare features with features. Let's compare results, because the result is, the end goal actually. And then, you can easily, to actually internet is really good in measuring all the data points. So it's really easy to measure which tool generates more revenue. So our approach started to be like, we are coming not to comparison features with features, but we are coming with a commitment that we can analyze the store and we can predict how much we can increase conversion rate via search.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end goal. And we realized that it's a release for merchants, because everything what they care about is a result, actually.
That's very true. That's very true. At the end of the day, the technical administration, the tools in the background, they're all there to increase your conversions and your revenue at the end of the day. Talk me through how LupaSearch works from the side of a store visitor for our listeners that obviously can't see it in front of them right now.
We call it vector search. So we don't look at letters.
Mm-hmm.
We look at the mathematical distance between concepts. So even if the user types black leather jacket snatched together, we know exactly what does it mean. So it's like a graph database, and we are comparing distances between words. So that's the technical explanation. Visually, from user experience, we have a dashboard and you have a lot of analytical data. So some of the customers realized that search bar, it's the biggest feedback channel to connect with the visitors. So just imagine that there are millions of queries, and we are collecting all this information to our dashboard, and they see analytical data, what is happening with the user behavior, and you can predict a lot of data-driven decisions. What needs to be next? They are browsing for some assortment which you don't have, so maybe you can add this assortment. Maybe they are browsing what is your working hours if you are omni-channel business, if you have physical stores and online. We see a lot of actually stats connects omni-channel experience that people are looking for. Privacy policy, return policy, working hours, which is actually a connection with physical, not with the online business. And we realized that it's the biggest feedback channel, which can be leveraged and analyzed. So from user experience, I would say analytical part is a big thing. It's not about, how search and discovery works, but also what kind of feedback you are receiving from your visitors. So you need to have a dashboard where all this data collected, and also these AI agents, they can actually try to analyze all this data and to give you not a raw report, but actually action points, what needs to be done. So AI algorithms can work not only with a search bar, but also with the data which is collected into your dashboard.
When we talk to AI, there's always a bit of a training time or a period of training involved. How long does it take to grab all this data and to process it so that the merchant can actually work with it?
It depends on industry. We started to think how to define this thing, and we came to the word search trust index. So we integrate, let's say, with the fashion store, and we see that consumption of search is minimal. Usually customers are coming and they are not using our search, but actually it's a trust in search. Because if it was not working before correctly, so you need to build some kind of trust for your visitors that these would start to use it. And sometimes it takes half a year. Sometimes it takes 3 months that we would see that, okay, numbers are starting to increase and they started to use the search bar, that it would help for them. So this is one example about this search trust, that sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it's not an immediate result. So you need to build trust again. And sometimes, if you have a large catalog and people are using search, then you can receive immediate results because it connects a lot of data points. Immediate result, it's a conversion and it's increased sales. But what does it mean? It's actually two parts of it's a search and product discovery. Search is about, keywords and intention, but product discovery is how you list products. And we connect all the data points with inventory, warehouses, profitability margin. So when a visitor is typing Samsung, we need to predict which products we need to show for them. It can be refrigerator, it can be TV, it can be telephone, it can be vacuum cleaner. But if in your region is a heat wave, so maybe we need to suggest for them coolers or all the equipment which would help in this season. If in 2 weeks there is a World Cup football championship, so might be that visitors would look for TVs. So actually, even you type Samsung, you can actually predict according to the season or upcoming events what is happening in your area. So we are calling it product discovery. Actually, we need to connect all the data points, and commercial people at your warehouse of your business knows everything because they already stocked with those TVs, because they already know that football championship in a couple of weeks. So everything what we need to do, we don't need, to connect with the forecast software systems. We just need to start to connect with your commercial people who works on your warehouse. And that's it. I think this is the biggest gap which you can fill and get an immediate result.
You gave a couple of examples. Who's your perfect customer? What kind of industry or vertical works it best with?
I think the biggest value we can bring for those businesses who has large catalog. So if you have 100 SKUs or 500 SKUs, I think that we can't, show a result when there is like a small catalog. But when the catalog is starting to increase 2,000, 20,000, 200,000, 2 million, then it started to be a very complex system. And then where we come in and show a result. So we are saying that bigger catalog you have, bigger complexity you have, bigger value we can bring. So this is a key part in our business, that it's a catalog complexity, filters, like thousands of filters. So usually when you have these things, there are opportunities over there.
You already gave a couple of examples, but could you share some success stories or case studies of businesses that you have worked with, and you don't need to name the brand, and what kind of results they saw?
The biggest results was in do-it-yourself business vertical, home and garden, because it's very sensitive to season. It's a large catalog. There are thousands of filters, and usually you need to upload those dynamic filters because there are a lot of categories of products. And usually it's omni-channel business. They have physical store chains and they have online, and you need to synchronize between those two businesses. And actually it's not we and they. I'm talking about physical world and online world of the business, but it's a synchronization, how to work unitely. The biggest evaluation is when you are coming to physical world and you see that customer assistants, they are using your search to help for physical customers. So it's a great example, how search can perform in physical world and digital world at the same time. That was the biggest success. Bookstores also, usually, pharmacies. We are calling it symptom search because when you are coming to a pharmacy, you don't know medicine which you need. You are coming with symptom. You are coming, let's say you have a cough or you have a pain in your ear. So actually you're not coming to the pharmacy and saying, hey, please give me like this exact, medicine, this exact. Usually you are explaining how do you feel, what kind of pain it is, and then you are receiving a product. So it's a symptom. So you have some kind of symptom, and you would like, to find the best recommendation. So recommendation software is merging with search software. So this is also one great example. And the biggest wins in those businesses where we have this symptom queries.
Walk me through the typical onboarding process of a new user. How does that work?
It's integration. So it's a bless and curse because for us, because when we are starting to talk with potential clients and they are very interested and they are saying, let's do it, then sometimes they realize that they would need, to integrate our software to, it's not like, just one click and you have all the software. Usually you need to connect via API or plugin to connect all the data points. So it takes time, a week, sometimes two. So usually it's an onboarding process. But what is interesting in this part that in the market, I'm not sure, but I think that there is no any competitor who would give free of charge without any commitment demo with a real product feed. Maybe for enterprises and for very, very large customers, some of the search competitors, they are doing that. But let's say you are a mid-sized business, you just would like, to try it out. Does it work or no? And usually you can see only with the synthetical data demo. What we do, we just ask JSON or XML file of your product feed, and we are showing demo with your real product. And you could see the difference, and you could see that all the problems which you had with search is already solved. So you are more committed that, okay, I can go and to integrate that because it would cost for you. You would be highly disappointed if you pick the software, you sign the contract, you integrate, and after 2 or 3 weeks, you realize that it doesn't solve your problems. So usually it would be good, to see before with your real product feed that everything works and you can fully committed that you can go with the next step. So this integration process is complicated, I would say, and we are trying to simplify it as much as possible, but you need a couple of iterations. Let's say you have your product feed, you see what doesn't work, then you iterate. We are calling it like data simulation 1, data simulation 2, data simulation 3, until everything is as it expected, and you can go with the next step little by little and to go to live environment.
Now, before our coffee break comes to an end today, is there anything you want to share with our listeners that we haven't covered yet?
I was preparing a bit to answer a question about the future because I thought that you would ask, so how the future looks like.
So how does it look like?
I see that there's like a lot of FOMO about all LLMs and, a lot of software connected to LLMs. And usually it's very expensive to show this, let's say, shopping assistant because it consumes a lot of tokens and there are no real examples at this moment. So it's like a lot of, maybe a couple of them, but it's still on very, very early stage. And I see that merchants, they have this FOMO that they would miss something. So my feeling is that it would take much longer than we expect. I think that, we need to see what was happening with the internet adoption. It took, 50, 20 years to have real examples which works, so it means that we are all internet users and we are getting value out of it. So Now, yeah, we can go to Gemini and receive answer, but still with all the software which is integrated with all those LLMs, we still need to wait because it's extremely expensive. It's still slow. It's getting better. But when everyone was talking, 2022 or 2023, that, in 1 year, everything is going to change. And now we are on 2026, and we still see that we need some years, to break that point. So I would say that we don't need to have this FOMO. We just need to wait until systems would be prepared for that. So that's my assumption. Let's say near view, what would happen in a couple of years.
I value that because you're close to the source, you know what's happening in AI, and coming from that perspective, it's probably a good prediction to slow it down, wait and see what's happening, and just be informed all along the way. Where can people go and find out more about LupaSearch and you?
Yeah, website, LupaSearch.com. We are trying, to educate people to write blogs, what is happening with search. So usually everything is on our website, LupaSearch.com.
Okay, I will put the link in the show notes, then you're just one click away. Paulius, thanks so much for giving us an overview of how important search is for every merchant out there and how important it is to get all the data together in one point to really get the most out of it. I hope a lot of people will reach out to you, and I hope we will talk soon. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Klaus. Thank you for having me.